So we have one of the most successful toy lines of the 1980s, and we already covered every aspect of cartoons, comic books, and merchandising. The only thing left is to go up on the big screen. But despite the film's critical commercial failure, it ended up being a nexus point for the mythology of the entire franchise moving forward. So let's delve into the details, origins, and impact of the Transformers the movie. In the year 2005, the planet Cybertron has been conquered by the villainous Decepticons led by Megatron. But the virtuous Autobots led by Optimus Prime plan to soon retake their home planet. However, as Prime orders a trip to Autobot City on Earth to replenish their Energon reserves, Laserbeak eavesdrops on their plans and reports back to Megatron. Soon the Decepticons attack and board the Autobot shuttle, only to obliterate the crew in order to launch a sneak attack and cripple the Autobots once and for all. On Earth, the brash Autobot Hot Rod takes Daniel Witwicky for a ride to Lookout Mountain to watch the shuttle land, but they spot a hole in its hull and realize the Decepticons' ambush. Soon an all-out battle erupts, with City Commander Ultra Magnus coordinating with Springer, RC, and Blur into action, while Blaster radios for help. Hot Rod and the crusty veteran Cup return to the city to join in the fight, while the might of Megatron's forces bear down upon the hapless Autobots. Yet by the break of day, Optimus arrives with reinforcements as the Dinobots attack the towering Devastator, and Prime steps into his final showdown with his arch-enemy Megatron. While the battle is hard fought, Megatron seems to grovel for mercy, but only as a ruse, before Hot Rod interjects. Regardless, Prime is gunned down and severely wounded, but not before hitting a final blow to Megatron, who forces the Decepticons to retreat. Meanwhile, in the far reaches of space, a monstrous plant named Unicron devours the planet Lithone and nearly all of its robotic inhabitants. When Optimus Prime ultimately passes the matrix of leadership to Ultra Magnus and dies, Unicron observes it and reacts with great fury. As Astro Train carries the Decepticons back to Cybertron, he requests to lighten the cargo on board. Starscream then takes advantage of the situation to eject all the wounded warriors, including Megatron, despite that he still functions. Starscream then nominates himself as leader, which incites a violent power struggle aboard Astro Train. Yet as the incapacitated Decepticons drift through space, Unicron presents them with an offer to help him destroy the Autobot Matrix. While Megatron objects to becoming Unicron's slave labor, he agrees to his terms, and thus Megatron is reformatted into Galvatron, with his other troops refashioned into new warriors, ready to destroy all that stand in their way. The first victim proves to be the traitor Starscream, who is reduced to rubble, as Galvatron takes command of the Decepticons once again. Now with an ultimate power set to devour the Autobots' home planet and all of its moons, and even more powerful and vicious foes converging upon them, the Autobots must scramble for their lives. With their numbers scattered across two alien worlds, they must fight for their lives against strange enemies, with an even worse threat looming above them. Yet Optimus Prime foretold that an Autobot one day will rise from the ranks in order to light their darkest hour. So the Transformers the movie saw its US theatrical release on August 8, 1986, being produced by Sunbow Productions and Marvel Productions Limited, and being distributed by De Laurentiis Entertainment Group, which unfortunately was not very long for this world, as this film contributed to their problems. They amount a lot of string of bombs and very underperforming films at the box office, leading to them 1 year from the release of this film, amounting $16.5 million worth of debt, and soon going out of business, with this film grossing about $5.8 million of a $6 million budget. And the Transformers were introduced in 1984 from Hasbro, importing and rebranding Japanese toy company Takara's lines of Diaclone and Microchange, and also getting help from Marvel Comics, because they previously joined with them to develop the entire thing for G.I. Joe: Real American Hero. Major rebrand, got revitalized, major success in that regard, so they wanted to find a way to copy the entire formula and stuff like that, so they went off with them, with editor-in-chief Jim Shooter, but more particularly editor Bud Yansky, who created all the names, the character profiles, everything like that, to create the overall world of the Transformers. So
instead of just having random toys on the shelves, you'd have a story for the children to follow and stuff like that, so they could create the comic books, the cartoons, everything like that, to create something for the kids to follow along with and be attached to in that regard. So very much a good thing. Like, it was the dawn of the 80s, and the entire thing with the Reagan administration was kind of loosening restrictions on certain things, kind of removing the oversight on certain things. So the loosening the restrictions on children's television, where now you could just put on a cartoon that just meant to push merchandise. And pre-production on the film pretty much started exactly the same time the cartoon hit airwaves in September of 1984, so just big aspirations, big campaign, multi-tier type of thing, just chugging forward to the highest ends possible to kind of push the merchandise as much as possible, and landed in the hands of writer Ron Friedman, who wrote the original G.I. Joe Real American Hero cartoon miniseries, and so a guy there on the ground floor, knows what he's doing, very trusted pair of hands, and a guy who just like, able to do over a couple of drafts here to find exactly what Hasbro wanted to do here, because beyond all the mythology, all the different things with characters, all the stuff we love about Transformers, to the company at the time, it's just a way to push merchandise, to make money through selling toys. And so it was the whole thing. It's like, eventually we're going to get to a point where we're going to get to a next wave of toys we want to push on the kids. But suffice it to say, a lot of people can kind of contribute the movie for kind of having the short legs of the franchise it did in that time. Because the fact of the matter is, again, as you're killing off a lot of these characters, which you couldn't do on the TV series, because TV standards and stuff like that, you really couldn't go along and be that violent in that regard. On the movie, you got more freer restrictions in that regard. You're going to kill everyone off here and there. Prowl, Ironhide, Brawn, all these different people just get wiped out in like the first 10 minutes of the movie. And then later on, Optimus Prime gets killed. And Ron Friedman was the one guy who kind of had the perception at the time, you don't want to kill off Optimus Prime, because he saw the value in that character, what it meant to the kids watching the show. That it becomes sort of a father figure, this sort of role model in a certain way, a character that grew an attachment to so many of those kids out there that thought, this is our hero. He's a larger than life, in many different ways, character that's kind of grown towards these kids and whatnot that have made this entire franchise as big as it is. It felt like, you don't want to kill this guy. You do not want to kill this character, but stipulations of Hasbro dictated that they had to kill everyone else and move new people into the main prominence of the toy line and the cartoon and everything like that. And so, as things went along, you kill off all these characters people were beloved about at the time. Now we're going to see a lot of kids who are getting crying and having a lot of negative reactions to the film, going to see it 2, 3, 4 more times. Me personally, I loved it. My dad took me to see this in 1986, in August, opening weekend, and I loved it. I loved the whole thing, just the entire experience, the entire thing. I just remember that experience so well, and the fact is, I rented this movie so many times from the exact same video store over and over and over and over again on VHS that I got to a point where I was like, they should just give me the tape, because I probably rented it so many times, they probably recouped the cost of the actual tape from the original distributor. I should just own that tape right now, but as it went on, eventually I'd have it on VHS, multiple DVD releases, Blu-ray and 4K, so I've kept with this film very much over the years. I never had that traumatic experience a lot of people did have at my age, that like, Optimus Prime's the biggest thing in your life and stuff like that, and just seeing him die on screen was the most tragic thing to a child at the time. You could definitely see the fact like it pulled the guts out of the entire box office. Obviously the entire film did make big bank on rentals and stuff like that over the years and whatnot, but it just something that was a little too much for the audience they had as a demographic to kind of absorb as much in that time and demand to go see it over and over again, which they clearly were not doing and didn't have much legs at the box office because of that sort of thing. And the negative response the death of Optimus Prime got from fans and parents alike forced Hasbro to make changes to G.I. Joe the movie, which was already in production, where they intend to kill off the character of Duke, who was the leader of G.I. Joe, and just kind of put in some additional dialogue here saying, oh, he went into a coma, and at the end of the film, radio over the entire thing saying, oh, he's just come out of the coma and stuff like that, just to mitigate the situation. But the financial failure of Transformers the movie at the box office, along with My Little Pony the movie, forced that film to go direct-to-video the following year. But interesting enough, when the film got to the UK, there were some alterations made to the film. One was the opening text crawl, because they replaced the actual opening credits with just this sort of Star Wars-esque crawl to kind of introduce the concept of the Transformers to the audience and stuff like that. Interesting choice in that regard, but more particularly in regards to the death of Optimus Prime, they, at the end of the film, had another narration saying that Optimus Prime will return.
And the greatest Autobot of them all, Optimus Prime, will return.
And this ended up happening in Season 3 of the entire cartoon series, where, one, they did bring him back, but kind of as a zombie, and made it much more traumatic in that regard, but then finally did a 2-part episode, namely called The Return of Optimus Prime. Interesting things in that regard. And also, the thing that kind of strangely made it a little weird in terms of its suitability for parents and kids and stuff like that is the inclusion of Spike Witwicky's curse word.
Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?
Which in many of the earlier home video releases, they did censor it. Now, it did get reinstated when it hit DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, is all properly now, but back in the day, there's a little censorship going on in that regard to kind of pull it back from maybe being a trigger for parents or whatnot. But talking about the animation style in the entire film, because the TV series was pretty rudimentary, pretty quick and dirty in certain ways, but this definitely had the time and the money to do a lot of great things in terms of the quality of everything, because the detail, the shading of so many different things, like it's a lot of time, put a lot of meticulous detail in so many different frames. Certainly, throughout the entire film, there are animation errors. There's certain continuity errors, certain inconsistencies in some of the animation, so there's certain things there, but over time, it's kind of created a charm, sort of a quality of character for the entire film. So I don't know too many fans who would like to see old little things fixed up. Some things might nag certain people, but I think like a lot of people like, okay, we just love the film as it is. Don't need some going in there kind of tweaking and fixing things up in that regard. But in general, it's really stunning. Just seeing the thing on a big screen or in the 4K or something like that. There's so many things that just come out at such great quality. So like, I like all the little lighting effects they have. The little kind of shimmering details they have on various other things, whether it's the Matrix or elements on Unicron or various other things with like various explosions, like just gives these extra little layers and details and stuff like that, and the whole thing just creates it lets the image pop even more than it was. And the color scheme is so vibrant, just like they create a very good color scheme with the different characters, like the new Decepticons with purple and gray sort of color scheme, just like it's very distinctive. It's very nice for toyetic type of stuff, but it's very nice to kind of identify the heroes, the villains, in very easy type of ways with the color schemes used in the entire film. So, Perry Nelson Shin, the director of the entire thing, who was very well treaded on the entire concept of Transformers and everything like that that were going on at the time, just made sure that they had different kinds of shading on different types of characters. Like the Decepticons have a little more shading, a little more darker type of lighting on them to a certain degree, while the Autobots is a little bit more brighter overall in certain places. So, very subtle type of things, but we put a lot of thought into the art design of the animation throughout the entire film. I think it comes off very, very well in so many different cases. The gorgeous backgrounds, all the painted qualities they have there, is like really just shows so much of the different detail and the effort put into the art film here. So a lot of different cases, it just shines so gloriously, because when we compare it off to something else that also came out in 1986, the direct competitors, GoBots from Tonka, they put out a theatrical film, Battle of the Rock Lords, and it just looks like a regular episode of the cartoon. There's no extra effort, there's no extra quality put into it from Hanna-Barbera or anything like that. It just looks like the same thing you'd watch on TV every single day. And they just didn't put extra money into it. And that film also bombed. I didn't have a recorded budget, but it made a little over $1 million. And it's, interesting enough, hasn't gotten past VHS and Laserdisc. It's like it's not on DVD, not Blu-ray, anything like that. It's like completely gone. But there is a 4K fan restoration out there if you want to find it and dig that up in that regard. But and a weird kind of quirk of animation to a certain degree is the fact that there's supposed to be 5 Dinobots. The 5th one, Snarl, barely appears in the film at all. There's a couple of random shots here and there where you see him, but when you have story scenes or big action scenes, he's nowhere to be found. When there's anything that has to be animated, he's not there. Only when he's kind of like standing static in scenes. So people kind of felt like maybe they lost the animation model for him at a certain point in time, and they just couldn't integrate him in the film properly. But nothing's been confirmed on a certain way. But such a weird type of thing. It's kind of the stinging point of the entire thing. Like, there's supposed to be 5 of them, and there's only 4 of them here. There's no explanation from inside the continuity of the film or outside from the production end of things. So just a weird thing we've kind of had to live with and kind of figure out what the problem is over the years. And one other animation inconsistency is the fact that Hot Rod's transformation from car to robot and back keeps changing from sequence to sequence because different animation teams get working on the film and didn't have a set animation model. And the heart of the Transformers themselves, so much so, is hinged upon Optimus Prime and Megatron, voiced by the fantastic Peter Cullen and Frank Welker respectively. Just like, they're such legendary iconic characters, and they created those characters through their own qualities, their own talents, things that Peter Cullen pulled in from his own brother, who was a military man and stuff like that, to tell you how to be a leader, how to be a hero, how to be a role model in that regard. So many different things. Just like, there's such great characters that they've enjoyed such a long legacy with them over the decades and stuff like that. But this film is kind of built on a lot of the TV spots saying their final confrontation, does Prime die? So they're just gonna grab you by the throat in that regard on the outset of the whole thing. But what the two of them do with the characters, with their voice work, it's just perfection. You can't imagine anyone else jumping in these roles. Just like, they're so synonymous in pop culture and the lexicon of this franchise. They're just golden on top of everything else. Just like what they bring to that dynamic between the two of them makes these characters so good. Because like, you got all the animation, but if you didn't have the right voice actors with the right qualities and the right rapport overall, it wouldn't click as well. But the fact is, they match the cinematic quality of the film itself by what they're given to put into these characters for this final confrontation in this continuity. So much so delivers on so many different levels. Like, everything hits the right beats on emotion, on the ruthless qualities of Megatron, so many different things. Just great. It just sells it so much. And the fact is, when you see them have that final confrontation, it entirely lives up. I mean, so much it's Stan Bush with the touch, giving you those feels, but the animation, the quality of the fight, everything like that, all that goes into the entire sequence there is absolutely fantastic and masterful. And just two of them are just beyond legendary for the work in this franchise in that regard. But introducing a new cast here, you got a whole different things. Like, when you get the opening credits, like, all these names of characters you don't know, again, and all these stars. Some people, like, I was age 6 when I saw this film. I don't know who the fuck any of these people are going to the theater. I don't know any of them at all, period. But you got Judd Nelson, hot off of The Breakfast Club and various other things, very much a hot property at the time. And what they do with Hot Rod, because Hot Rod's such a point of contention. People are just like, there's been a lot of fan uproar with Hot Rod about him jumping into the fight between Megatron and Optimus Prime and thinking he's kind of somewhat responsible for the entire thing. Interesting enough, because there's been 2 comic adaptations, but the one in particular is the original Marvel comics one at the time, where Hot Rod never jumps in the fight between Megatron and Optimus Prime, and Megatron still guns down Optimus Prime in that battle there. So, interesting thing in that regard. But I always liked Hot Rod. I liked the quality of the character. Just as someone who is 6 years old, sitting in the theaters, like this new, interesting, hot character in that regard, brash, young, and stuff like that. He's an exciting character, and that was very much what they're going for. They hit the characterization right on the money for what I respond to very strongly in that regard. And just like, he's such an interesting, fun character who is on that hero's journey. It's like something new that you haven't seen before. It's the same old hero's journey you've seen time and time again, done very well in a lot of different things, but they did a really good job with it. I think Judd Nelson did a really good job. And the fact of the matter is, many decades later, he came back and revoiced Hot Rod and made different animated series over the time, so he's come back to the role. So a very good thing on him, jumping in the whole thing and keeping it tethered to the whole thing, and kind of owning the character in that regard. So I like Hot Rod so much because they team up with Cup, voiced by Lionel who's just a really excellent, interesting character actor in such a way that's like, he brought that grizzled veteran quality to the entire thing, and the chemistry of the comedy. Just like, they're 2 easy archetypes that are just breathe so much vibrance into. And just the quality of the dialogue they're given to create those elements in their film that's so memorable. All the different things between Cup and Hot Rod have so much great quotable dialogue overall. Just like, it's just the stuff you remember so well between the universal greeting, all the stuff between Cup's war stories, stuff he's doing with the Dinobots, and various other things, and Hot Rod having a few little things here and there with little quips on the way. It's all very great stuff. Just like, creates endearing quality for Hot Rod to be against this guy. He's a little bit more grizzled, more veteran, he's got more seasoned quality, but he's got something for Hot Rod. He's kind of have, even though as much as he kind of grinds his gears at certain points of time, it's something he sees in the kid. Stuff like that. So I like at the end of the film where he's become Rodimus Prime, he's now inherited the Matrix, and Cup says, "I knew you had potential, lad." So it's like little things like, it might be a little tough love, a little gruff in some place, but like, you wouldn't be sticking around with this guy and kind of having his back in certain places if you didn't think will of him. So I really like the quality overall, and just again, Judd Nelson does an excellent job in the role. But like I said, Leonard Nimoy, fantastic. I just like the fact that he's playing a character that he didn't typically get to play, just like a really ruthless, like dark character, to bring that bass into his voice and that kind of growly quality overall. Is like, this is the same year he directed and released Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, which is my favorite Star Trek film. But great type of things, like he had worked on Star Trek the Animated Series before, providing his voice for the character of Spock, and so definitely used to being in the booth in that regard. But I can hear Nimoy so much in the character, and he does a fantastic job with Galvatron. It's like, I like how they make Galvatron slightly different from Megatron. He's much more empowered overall. He's given just more of a charge overall. It's like, once he gets changed into Galvatron, first thing he does, he goes to Cybertron and blows away Starscream. It's like, that's the last straw. It's like, throughout the entire series, it's always like, he'll let Starscream string along. It's like, oh, you betrayed me here or there, and he'll have some cutting words for Starscream, but he'll always kind of let him float off, because obviously they're not killing characters in the series. But it's nice that they kind of have that turn there. It's like you just went one step beyond. And now this revitalized, souped up version of Megatron, that's now Galvatron, he ain't having none of your crap anymore, and he just blows them the hell away, and just kind of cements his stance, like, ain't no one else going to stand up against this guy. It's like, yeah, you look like a leader to me, and stuff like that. So I like that quality, but also the constant tethering to Unicron. He's still Megatron at the heart. That's still the whole thing. Is like, I am the alpha in the entire situation. I want to have everyone bow at my feet, even this gargantuan menace that could swallow everything whole in a heartbeat. I still want him to grovel at his feet and stuff like that. That's still Megatron, but just still, that hubris is just kind of pumped up even further than that. So it's like, I love the characterization they put on the whole thing. As they went into the cartoon series again, Galvatron's brain got kind of scrambled and stuff like that, and his story is kind of haywire, so he's not exactly the same characterization. Frank Welker would return and voice Galvatron with a very different voice in the cartoon series, but I thought Nimoy just did a fantastic job in the entire role, and he would return to the franchise later on, voicing Sentinel Prime in Transformers Dark of the Moon. But Robert Stack, just such a esteemed quality of an actor in that regard, just has such a stature to him. Where you saw him as Elliot Ness in the Untouchables, or later on Unsolved Mysteries, always had that quality overall that just brings to it a little bit to Ultra Magnus as well. Because Ultra Magnus, it does have that kind of stoic nobility to him, but it also has that kind of uncertainty about himself as being a leader overall. It's like he doesn't quite have his sea legs in the entire thing. He's not really kind of planted. He doesn't really have that X factor of a leader in that regard. It feels like he should be the successor to Optimus Prime, because even in toy form, he technically was just an Optimus Prime figure in a giant piece of armor in that regard. So, interesting thing in that regard. But once you know more about Robert Stack, I think that feeds more into Ultra Magnus and what he does in the entire film with this character. Great actor, great stuff he put on the whole thing. Just like a great cast overall. Just like they had a lot of stuff from recurring people in the entire thing, from like Jack Angel, Michael Bell, all the different people, against a new people like Susan Blue, voicing the female Transformer in that regard as RC. RC's gone on to a long legacy in the entire franchise, stemmed from her work here. She put in a very good piece of work creating this character and giving it life, and giving female fans something to more latch on to, something to be more attached to in that regard. So I like that quality overall, and Neil Ross being Springer, a couple of different characters, is a really fantastic job in the whole thing, and getting everything with Brett Garr, with Eric Idle, John Machida as Blur and stuff like that, all really good qualities of actors. And one of the most interesting is the fact of Orson Welles voicing Unicron here, because Welles was near the end of his life. He passed away maybe about a month after he finished recording the lines for the film. And Orson Welles has a storied history, from Citizen Kane all the way up to different things. Like, there's a lot of things he got ostracized in Hollywood. And a lot of things he was on a very bad track where he had to do like voiceover stuff and commercials and various other things just to pay the bills and kind of fund his other projects here and there. He wasn't given the acclaim, that wasn't given the respect he deserved in his lifetime. Certainly in retrospect, people laud him as one of the best filmmakers out there and one of the best voices, period. And so he seemed to have a bit of a jovial sensibility about going in and kind of voicing a giant planet that gets turned into a toy and stuff like that. I don't know if he had as much reference for it, but it's like he joked about it a little bit in a biography that was published about him, but he does a very good job. One of the most iconic voices that were out there at the time, the deep bass of his entire voice really created that quality of Unicron himself. There were some speculations early on of whether or not he actually had finished all his lines. Maybe they kind of had Leonard Nimoy step in, they kind of modulated his voice and stuff like that, but no, it's been confirmed that Orson Welles did complete all the voice work for Unicron before his passing, but it's the last film role for him and Scatman Carruthers, who voiced Jazz in the original series. And there's one thing you could definitely say about the entire film, it's like it doesn't have a dull moment. It's like it rip roars from start to finish. It's like it's over before you know it, because it just moves and moves and moves, and it's just this action sequence on top of action sequence, like, and it all looks spectacular. It's like such dynamic animation for different things, like all of that leads up to the Autobot City assault and everything like that, where you have Hot Rod on Lookout Mountain, and he's shooting down the entire shuttle and everything like that, and Cup comes in and takes on Blitzwing and the Insecticon and stuff like that. It's all exciting type of stuff overall, and like the full assault. It's like you never saw anything with that scale on the entire series. Like nothing that looked that good, nothing that looked that epic. Like when Devastator forms, like it looks like the biggest, most powerful moment you could possibly imagine. It's like it has such a looming sense of dread overall. It's like it's such a great job creating those moments that feel like real major type of things overall, like Dinobots flying in and attacking Devastators. Like it's great type of stuff that just pays off so many different things, and just builds and builds and builds. When you have all the stuff that go off in space, and you have like say Clonus attacking the shuttles and various other things, like great looking stuff, just great exciting stuff, and they crash land on a different planets. You have Cup and the Dinobots and Hot Rod and everything like that up on the twisted Quintesson planet. All that stuff goes on. The demolition derby goes on, and the Dinobots come in, and they've been kind of comedy characters for most of the entire film here, but when you get them in that sequence, they actually look fierce. Like they have that intimidation factor. It's like that's what the Dinobots need to have. You have to tap back into what they were designed to be. They're supposed to be big, mean juggernauts in a certain way, and they just tapped into that a little bit there. So I like that quality overall. It's like everything that goes on the Junkion planet, all that type of stuff, it just looks and feels so exciting overall. Everything's so exciting. Every single sequence hits off. It's fast-paced, hard-hitting, doesn't go on too long. It just hits the beats it needs to be as a dramatic thing and moves the entire story forward. And it's like, they all look fantastic. And when you get into the final battle with Unicron, my goodness. Just the animation of transforming from that planet into the actual robot form, awesome type of stuff overall. And just the fact that everything you have going on, the entire rest of the entire film, where you're building up the story, the threat of Unicron and Galvatron taking the Matrix and seemingly killing both Optimus Prime as Megatron, then kind of blowing up Ultramax and just feel like it's the lowest point possible. Everything's been ripped away and taken away. And you're finally getting the entire thing where this young, brash character of Hot Rod has to be the one to go up against Galvatron. Or maybe he doesn't know if he can take down this big, mean, powerful type of guy, but he's not intimidated as much by him. It's like he's still like, I'm going to fight you. Whatever it takes. Like, he's going to do whatever tactics he has and still take it to him. I like the quality. Like, he's not backing down from the fight. He's being strategic in the fight. Because no, he's not as powerful as them, but he can use different tactics and various other things to kind of outwit them, outsmart them, kind of outmaneuver them in certain ways. I like the quality of what they do with the character in that sequence to make it interesting, keep the drama going in that sequence so much. And of course, all the stuff that follows on from that just like completes that hero's journey for Hot Rod into Rodimus Prime, various other things. So like all the action the film builds up so very well to create a memorable film. Like it's a vibrant film that looks so good to the witness overall. It's like it creates interesting alien worlds and different places we haven't been before, and creates a wider scope of the entire Transformers. Where season 3 of the series, after the movie, would go more cosmic, more space-based and stuff like that. So it kind of follows on that transition from a lot of the Earth-based stuff to much more the cosmic type of stuff. And so it kind of opens up the entire universe of the Transformers in that regard. So I like how it just does all these different things to create new characters, more interesting things, a little more futuristic, a lot of the character designs as well. So it's just a great way to just transform, no pun intended, the entire universe around the characters so much. So I like what they did in that regard, but so much so with this entire film, you have to talk about the soundtrack because it's just so intrinsically linked, and it's so goddamn 80s. Like it's is one of the most quintessential, boiled down summations of 80s all together, because you have the big arena rock of like Stan Bush, you got the kind of heavy metal of NRG, and you got the kind of wild stuff of like Weird Al Yankovic throwing in There's Dare to Be Stupid, which fits so well for the Junkions with their kind of TV catchphrases and everything like that. It's perfect. And you got all the different things going on with all the different music, and the whole thing's like, it pulls everything, but it all fits and flows in together. Just like it has that synergy or everything like that. So it's hard rock stuff, all the synthesizer stuff, like it's so perfectly 80s, and backed up by Vince Nicola doing the score, and also collaborating with Stan Bush on the entire thing for Dare. It's like, the guy just worked on Rocky IV, $300 million box office hit. A lot of people liked what he did in the whole thing, and it was so much building on the entire synthesizer trend in movie scores at the time, and so they wanted to bring him in. It's like, this is the exact guy, because the cartoon series kind of shared a lot of the orchestral music with like G.I. Joe. It's like a lot of library tracks that kind of had banked up for both the series and stuff like that. We want to have a very distinct quality of the sounding to our film, so you want to have that big sound overall. So pretty much electronic to kind of fit the theme of everything like that for electronic transforming robots and stuff like that. So everyone worked very much, and Nicola he loved the entire experience. Like, he got to go on the Scotty Brothers stage and then have almost like this entire bank of just synthesizers as far as you guys see. It's like just a candy store of everything like that. So like, he got to work with so many different things. It was so exciting, various other things, and him working with Stan Bush, who definitely did other songs and soundtracks after this and stuff like that. This guy was fantastic. Apparently, the touch was originally written for the Stone movie Cobra, which seems like an odd fit to a certain degree. You can kind of see it, but not terribly feel like I can see it, but it fits. You can't even imagine this song belonging to any other film in this regard. It's like, it's the theme. It's like the next theme over from everything like that. So it's like, it's so intrinsically linked with the Transformers franchise, you just can't imagine anything else. Dare's a fantastic song, and interesting enough, we got a couple interesting pieces of information about various bands here, because we'll talk about Lion first. Kind of a simple one. They went on, redid the entire Transformers thing in this big arena rock type of way. They had previously done a song attached to Friday the 13th, the final chapter, for Love is a Lie, which is off an EP they did, which would later come out on their last album in 1989. So they only released two albums. One in 1987 called Dangerous Attraction, 89 Trouble in Angel City, and they called it quits afterwards. It just didn't work out beyond that point. So you can find both those tracks on those different albums in that regard. And so they had a little notoriety there for a little bit while, and they have a very good sound to them overall. They could have gone somewhere, but apparently at the end of the 80s, we were just kind of encroaching on the end of kind of that big arena rock, hair metal type of stuff. But more particularly is the Canadian band Kick-Axe, whose Scotty Brothers in the United States and other territories decided to change the name of the band on the album to Spectre General without the permission of the band, because apparently they thought something like Kick-Axe, which sounds like Kick-Ass, wouldn't suit for a film that's PG, directed at kids, despite the fact that in Canada it was still labeled as Kick-Axe. And more interesting enough, the song Hunger was written by them, but it was covered and released by the band King Cobra the year before this as a single and a music video. And so Kick-Axe wrote it, but King Cobra recorded and released it before their version got released as well. And their other song on the soundtrack, Nothing's Gonna Stand in Our Way, was actually recorded by John Farnham 2 years beforehand for the film Savage Streets on that soundtrack. So that's a cover, and the other song that they wrote on the entire thing actually was a cover that was released before their original version. So very strange stuff in that regard. Interesting enough, even further, NRG, which seems to be a hard band to kind of grab a hold on exactly what their track record was, what their album history was, stuff like that. Apparently in 2001, I do have the CD, they did release a remastered version of the song along with the uncensored version, because they originally had different lyrics in parts of the entire thing that needed to be altered for the film because it didn't quite fit as well for a PG-rated children's film, being animated and all that type of stuff. So if you have that, and it's also up on streaming, they put out a brand new version recently, which has a live version a remastered version of the soundtrack version, the unedited version, and a re-recorded version with vocals from Tim Ripper Owens, who previously was of Judas Priest, replacing Rob Halford in the 90s in that band. So, a lot of stuff covered on that soundtrack, and it's easily available in its proper form on digital services, on CD, all that type of stuff. It's been re-released a couple times in different territories. It's widely available. No problem finding it. Of course, like I said, the NRG tracks are easily available on different streaming services as well, and various other things like that. So, only one of the Lion albums, Dangerous Attraction, is available on digital services. The second one, which has the Love is a Lie song from Friday the 13th, the final chapter, does not appear to be currently available anywhere in that regard. And lest I forget, Mark Wahlberg in the film Boogie Nights singing a very bad version of The Touch. Several years before Wahlberg would actually star in two Michael Bay Transformers movies, Age of Extinction and The Last Night. And the song actually cameoing a little bit of a funny scene in 2018's Bumblebee movie, which is set in the 1980s, and I think is just a really wonderful film altogether. Stan Bush would re-record the entire song, along with a version of his entire song, Till All Are One, on his album In This Life, which is easily available to many different fans. Additionally, Vince Coppola's complete score was released by Entrada in 2014 on CD and 2016 on vinyl, but both are now out of print. And like I mentioned earlier, there were two comic book adaptations done of the movie, one from Marvel Comics at the time, and 20 years later from IDW Publishing. And the Marvel Comics one was done from a slightly earlier draft of the script, so there's some different details here and there, but I don't really recommend either one of them. Like, they both have their distinct art styles and stuff like that, but even if like the IDW Publishing one kind of adds in a little something extra here and there, like, as a lot of people kind of criticize the films, like, where are all the characters from like season 2 of the cartoon? They're not here because this is being developed during season 1 of the cartoon, so they couldn't really add in a bunch of different characters halfway through pre-production, stuff like that. And so they added in one page where Omega Supreme and the Aerobots are going up against Bruticus and Metasaur, and that's about it. Just somewhere else on Earth, they're battling them, and they're not being at Autobot City. So there's more of a subtraction than addition in these cases. So there's a lot of things like the point where Cup saves Hot Rod from Blitzwing is in neither version of the kind of adaptation. So it's like little different things. It's like it doesn't feel like there's enough new here, nothing added, nothing interesting that's more than what's in the film that I could really recommend either one of them. So they're fine enough if you're kind of completionist, but I don't really think you need to rush out and grab either one of them to really have much of experience with them at all. But so many different things with the film. Like I mentioned at the top of this whole thing, like, this is such a nexus point of mythologies, because like there's so much stuff introduced here that was not present beforehand. Like, this is the introduction of the Matrix of leadership. Didn't exist before, but so many different things like Unicron. That entire thing just populates all over the entire franchise. They've done it in so many different cartoons. Beast Wars followed up on Unicron. Various other things. The live action films twice have teased Unicron. They did in Transformers The Last Night, and then they did the soft reboot with Bumblebee, then went off of Transformers Rise of the Beasts, and did more Unicron there in a different type of fashion. So Unicron's all over the entire franchise. Like, he's always just brought up again and again and again as like the ultimate baddie and stuff like that, the biggest epic type of thing you go up against. So they've gone back from what they did in 86 and to repopulate a lot of these ideas throughout the entire franchise. Like, a lot of the comics picked up on Unicron, did a lot of different things. They brought back Galvatron and various other things. They've done a lot of different things. Like, Galvatron's been kind of done as kind of like a souped up Megatron or redecorated Megatron, stuff like that. They've always kind of brought back these kind of concepts, stuff like that. Sometimes it's just to renew the copyrights that Hasbro needs to kind of keep a hold on, but so many different things and different stories and different places and whatnot. We just keep tapping back into what was introduced in this film so much. Different characterizations, different relations with different characters, various other things like that. It just constantly just kind of gets mined again and brought back up and stuff like that. It's interesting. This little film that was a death knell in the entire thing. Like, after this, toy sales started falling off. The ratings of the cartoon fell off. It got canceled after season 3. It kept going on in Japan, where they did a lot of different other things and kept going in different directions, stuff like that. It still remained popular in Japan, but in the United States, North America, it just kind of fell off a cliff. It just kind of dried up after this because a lot of the characters that people loved weren't around anymore. And it was like, we're not going to do those characters, not going to do new versions of those characters. Not yet anyways. We're going to go off in new characters, new toys, stuff like that. And it just moved on to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and various other things as a 80s rolled on and rolled into the 90s, kind of moved on to different things and grew up and stuff like that. And so it just kind of like the film didn't hit the right chord with the demographic at the time. And it kind of was detrimental to the evolution of where they had to go as a marketing strategy, because you just weren't going to keep re-releasing the same toys, because what are you going to do? Going to go buy the same toy 2 or 3 times? No. You're going to buy new toys. So they had to keep introducing new characters and stuff like that. So from a marketing sensibility, it's right. But from the perspective of the kids and the ones who are demanding the toys, putting on their birthday list, their Christmas list, stuff like that, dragging their parents off to Toys R Us and stuff like that to grab the new thing that they're excited for because they saw it on the cartoon and they loved the whole thing and loved the characters. As your interest kind of dries up, so does the profits. And so it's an interesting thing that this thing that failed at the box office kind of was the linchpin of the decline of the franchise throughout the rest of the decade is now one of the most important things in the franchise. Like without this entire film, where would we be for a lot of these different stories that we have? A lot of different mythology we have. A lot of different things we're going off of. Like the Matrix of Leadership is just pinned in the heart of the entire franchise right now. It's like it's always there. It's always there. Everything that builds up from lineage of primes and stuff like that, it's all built out in the entire wider scope of things that started with this film. All that type of stuff bores out from what they did here. It's so vitally important, and anyone who grew up with this just knows this. They've watched this film. I've probably watched this film 100 times if I've not watched it 500 times. It's like I just know this film beat by beat, line by line, shot by shot, everything. Like I said, rent the hell out of that VHS tape. Eventually got my own VHS tape from Canada in the late 90s, which had mono soundtrack, not a stereo one. I got the DVD, and I got the 20th anniversary DVD. Then I got the Blu-ray and the 4K. It's like, it's one of those films I'm just never going to get tired of. I absolutely love it. Certainly, like people who didn't grow up with it, it would have a different quality. It wouldn't have the same attachment to yourself. I can get that, because some people have looked at the film, kind of reviewed it on the entire YouTube and stuff like that, and not had that childhood nostalgia, that thing that linchpinned them to the entire film as a kid to really love it for the reasons a lot of people like us do love it. I would love to hear what you guys feel about the Transformers, the movie, how you grew up with it, if you didn't grow up with it, what you feel about it, and various other things. Like there's so much out there. I could have gone into 10 times as much details, but there are certain things I really wanted to narrow down and focus on the entire video here that very much excited me about the prospect and the wider implications of the entire film. So thanks so much, guys, for watching the entire video. Like, subscribe, comments below. There's always a super thanks feature to contribute something monetarily to the channel, and the Patreon to get something, give something every month and early access to everything around here. And if you can contribute everything, that's fantastic. But always keep everything vital with all the different analytics, with the watch times, the interactions here and stuff like that. Very much pleased by the entire thing. So guys, thanks so much. Take care. Till R1.